Alright, so we're gonna do one of these videos, but this one's gonna be a little bit different. I'm gonna keep the rant part of it and like the talking about the bugs, criticisms about pro ladder stuff. I'll cover that, but I'm gonna keep it a bit brief because my opinion isn't that much different than the ones you've heard already from other posters and things like that. I do have a few talking points that I have listed here, which is basically I'm going to do a little introduction so you guys know who I am, where I'm coming from when I say this stuff that I'm going to say. Then I'll just cover my thoughts on the patch, my reaction to the bugs and all that, talk about the pro ladder stuff, and then cover the main point of this video, which is going to be a discussion about the very huge difference between discover in Hearthstone and create in Gwent, which I think from all the videos I've seen, there have been a lot of good points raised in other areas and stuff, but it seems to be that not a lot of people are acknowledging that discover and create are just, it's almost like they're completely different mechanics and the effects they have on the game and stuff like that. Is just, they're just not even close to each other. Like, people kind of just think they go hand in hand, like discover in Hearthstone and create in Gwent. It doesn't at all. So that's what I'm going to cover. And I got a few notes. Number one on my notes, my lighting sucks. Yes, I know. I'm going to buy lighting. And I'm looking at the camera and I should just shave. I know, and I'm listening to myself, and I have the voice of a doofus, right? Let's just forget all that for a minute, and let me cover this stuff I'm going to cover in this video, alright? Okay, so a little introduction on who I am, alright? So I'm the player Lucchese. I play under that name. I've used that name for every game I've played, some variation of it, either exactly Lucchese or like, you know, 3 X's in front or whatever, you know, like dashes in it and stuff. I've played a lot of games, a lot of card games. I've played poker. I played Hearthstone, Magic, Gwent now. Also chess and MMOs, just a lot. I'm a gamer, like all the way, totally. So while I did play Hearthstone to cover, you know, because I'm going to be covering Discover here versus creating Gwent, I played for 2 years and I was one of the top North American players during the time that I played. I qualified for both America's Championships and the World Championship qualifier circuit. Like, I lost both times to very, very skilled players in the final round to qualify into the World Championship thing. So, like, it's okay, you know what I mean? I did fine, but, you know, it's kind of sad too, but anyway. So I have a lot of experience with Hearthstone, and I ended up moving over to Gwent, just trying it out from seeing it on streams, and like I saw Super JJ and Life Coach, you know, they switched over, so I wanted to check it out, and it's a great game, actually. It's very different from the other game systems like Magic and Hearthstone. It's just a completely different thing, and I think it's a great game, right? So that was, like, not to get too deep into like the damage that the patch did, right? But that was pre-patch is my thoughts about that, right? That was pre-patch. So what are my thoughts on the patch? Like, did I like the patch or not? I did not like the patch. The patch was pretty bad. The amount of bugs, just, I don't, like, okay, they had a new tech update and stuff too, right? So there are going to be some bugs and some problems. I understand that, but the amount of time that they've let the bugs go on for in the context of a current competitive season, it's ongoing, the pro ladder, and the qualification for the open is based on your ranking in pro ladder, and like the amount of exploits that people, it's like I don't even know how this season, like, I mean, they can't do anything like this season doesn't count or something. You just can't do that. The problem was that they let these bugs, these like game breaking bugs, just go on for weeks in the pro ladder season, and it's just a huge problem. Like, the people that are qualified right now for the open, I'm not gonna get into specifics about, but you guys know what I'm trying to say, right? Okay, so when I'm talking about that discover in Hearthstone and create in Gwent are just like, it's like they're not even close in mechanics and the effects on the game and stuff like that. Let me get into that. I'm gonna log into my Hearthstone client. I haven't even touched it in such a long time, but here we are to cover this video. I'm gonna show you a couple examples of discover cards, and then I'm gonna compare them to Gwent Create, and then talk about why it just does not translate. It doesn't translate. Okay. All right. So let's get into that. All right. So here's an example of a discover card from Hearthstone. Okay. So this is free from Amber. It is 8 mana, and it is discover a minion that costs 8 or more, and then summon it. Right. So the game system of Hearthstone follows the mana per turn system and mana cost for cards and things like that. Okay. So what's going on here is that they can balance the effect of a discover card based on mana, right? So this card costs 8. So the discover is 8 or more. So you can pay 8 mana and then get something that sometimes is more than 8 mana. So the card is, you know, pretty good in that sense. And since you have 3 options and it's not completely random, like what you get, the card can be balanced in a meaningful way. Like, this card is perfectly balanced. There's never an issue with Free from Amber. It was a very good card because it's a spell that lets you discover a minion and things like that. But you can see with this and the next example that these types of effects, the discover effect, where it's a choose 3 but balanced within a mana system, is completely fine. There was never any type of issue with discover cards in Hearthstone. It was actually like the discover mechanic in Hearthstone was like a blessing to the game, because the game was so like riddled with effects that couldn't be anticipated. You know, like, people call it RNG, and like, you know, Ragnaros, if Rag goes face here when there's like a full board on the other side, this guy wins $10 million or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, I've experienced that. I played Hearthstone for a couple of years, like, I know what it's like. So they introduced Discover into Hearthstone to kind of like give the player more control of this like random effect, right? Because Discover isn't exactly random, because you're going to choose the best option at 3. You guys know what I mean, right? So let me show you another card. So Primordial Glyph, this is like one of the best discover cards that they printed, and it costs 2, and you get to discover a spell and reduce its cost by 2, right? So in effect, you use 2 mana on whatever turn you want to play it to get to choose one of 3 spells and then reduce its cost by 2. So you're just like kind of like preserving 2 mana from one turn to another, you know, something like that. So this card is perfectly fine. It's balanced. It's a very good card, but it's a balanced card. It's completely fine. Okay. So from those 2 examples, I think you guys can start to formulate the idea that I'm trying to get across here. Like, within a mana system in a game like Magic or Hearthstone, these things are balanced in that way, right? Gwent doesn't have a mana system, and you can play any card you want at any time. So the create mechanic doesn't follow the rules. Okay, so with those 2 examples of Discover and how I covered that they work within a mana system, that they can be balanced by the card designers and the developers of the game within a mana system. You guys can understand probably what I'm going to say about Create, right? Gwent doesn't have a mana system under which to balance those effects, so Create is like, it's almost like complete chaos. It's nuts. It's like, here's how I see it, right? Like, I'm going to give the example. So in Hearthstone, because the game had so much of that RNG effect, like the randomness and stuff, they introduced Discover in order to alleviate that for the players. Like, the player gets to choose between 3 options instead of it being like some crazy just random effect every single turn deciding games for, championships and stuff, right? So in Gwent, though, the introduction of Create is almost exact opposite. Like, the game of Gwent pre-patch, before this patch, it was super it felt really solid and fluid. Like, the game, you could understand the flow of the game, and your decisions are impacting like every single round and things like that. Like, the interviews that they did, they did a bunch of interviews where they asked like the challenger players or the open players or something like that. They were just like, what's your favorite part of Gwent? Or if you go on the Gwent Reddit, you would see threads like that all the time. It's like, wow, this game is so satisfying because I know exactly the mistake I made that made me lose the game, or something like that. And the players responded those same responses in the interviews at the Open. Like, it's just so good to know exactly why something went wrong, like a play you made, a mistake you made, something like that, like, a deck choice, whatever. And it seems like, and this is just conjecture because I don't know, but it seems like something changed in the development. Like, they wanted to, maybe somebody told them that they need to increase the target, audience that they're trying to attract. Like, the demographic wasn't big enough or something for a certain profit point or something. Like, this is, I'm just, like, theorizing here or something, right? But they went from a super solid game, but Create's a totally different beast. It is a totally different thing, man. Like, and I can tell you from experience in both games, like I said before, like, Discover was like a blessing for Hearthstone, and it felt great in Hearthstone. And Create does not feel good in Gwent. It feels really bad. Like, it feels really, really bad. If I was going to offer a change to Create to kind of give it some structure instead of being like so crazy, I've seen Reddit posts where posters are like, what about if Create was limited to cards that were in your deck? Like, if it was already in your deck or not in your deck, like the Scoia'tael card, the 2-cost guy, I don't know what it's called right now, but it will create a bronze unit that is not in your starting deck. That effect is totally fine, right? That's totally fine. It's not crazy. I don't know if it can translate, but maybe you can put like power limitations on it. Like, you can have an effect that creates a unit that is, let's say 8 or less power, because they know that Stregobor is 10 or something, and they don't want a mill deck to be able to create 10 Stregobors or something in the game. Something like that. So with that being said about Create and Discover, and the comparison between the two, and how I don't think it translates at all between the games, I do want to mention about the move that players made from Hearthstone to Gwent. So there's a certain feel to games. Each game has a different type of feel and things like that, of course. But the feeling that players were getting while playing Hearthstone those players that move from Hearthstone to Gwent, and a bunch of players keep doing that, moving from Hearthstone to Gwent, those players are looking for a different feel to the game, right? And Gwent definitely did have a completely different feel to actually any other card game that I've played before. The system is totally different. The game plays differently. It feels differently. Your decisions are made. Just everything. It's great, right? So the thing that this patch did, outside of the bugs, you know, with create and things like that in Gwent, it kind of made it so that feel that you had when you were playing Gwent, it's definitely changed. Like it doesn't feel the same, right? Like you kind of want to say pre-patch the game was Gwent, and then post-patch it's like, you know, Gwentstone or something. Like, yeah, I don't like the ring of that, right? I don't like the ring of that at all. So yeah. Anyway, those are my thoughts on that. So that's all I'm going to say about it. As you guys can tell, I'm hoping I'm very hopeful that things will improve, because obviously they're going to address the bugs and things like that, but it's not even the bugs that I have the most of the problem with, right? It's just creates weird in Gwent, man. It's really weird. So yeah, those are my thoughts. And obviously I'm a bad YouTuber too, because I don't say to subscribe and follow and stuff like that, whatever. So yeah, that's it for me. Obviously I love doing this type of stuff, so anything else that comes up, I'm gonna try to do more videos. I'll try to talk more about stuff, and just keep you guys up to date on what I'm doing and stuff. I did finish in the top 50 of my first season of Pro Ladder. Not that that's even good. Like, I don't feel good about that at all, but you know, the patch, I didn't feel like playing at the end, whatever. Alright, this video's getting too long. That's it. We're done. We're cutting it here. See you guys later.